everyone. This is Swamy from Sankriti, which specializes in handmade products. An MBA in marketing by profession, I chose to be an entrepreneur in the year 2013 to take my passion and interest to the next level. I create decoupage home decor products, mixed media projects, mandala artwork, handmade cards, magnets, etc. My style of crafting depends on the project that I'm working on and do not follow a specific one, as I like to keep updating myself with the latest trends and techniques. Today, we will be creating a mixed media canvas. Mixed media is an art form where a number of mediums and textures are added to create a masterpiece. You can even upcycle small jewelry findings and elements that are available at your home. This technique of art uses stencils, various chipboard elements, and jewelry findings to create the project. Today we'll be working on the canvas, but later I'll show you that the same thing can be done on MDF boxes or pen holders or glass, any other base material as well. Here I have two canvases. This is a watercolor canvas pad, which doesn't have textures and it is clear. Whereas this is a normal canvas pad that you get and has a few textures already in it. So for now, I'll be working on this, but for later on, I've already actually prepped up one of the canvases, the watercolor canvas, and kept it ready. So once we finish the whole thing, I'll show you the difference between a watercolor canvas and the textured canvas. You can see how much of the texture difference will be there. So this, with this, I'm going to keep all the elements that I'm going to use for the canvas today. So here is a cheesecloth. So this is a normal gauze cloth, or cheesecloth is what you get in craft stores, but you can just take the normal gauze that you get at any of the pharmacies or medical stores. So I will be using this, then this corrugated sheet of paper, then a stencil. I have randomly taken this stencil from my stash. You are free to use any of the stencils as per your liking, what you want to add the background as. And since I chose the dream catcher theme, so I've taken a dream catcher chipboard, and this is a live your dreams chipboard. These chipboards are available at Etsy, and there are a lot of other craft stores as well. So yeah, these are some of the things that I'll be using. So to get started, I'm just going to place the cheesecloth. As you can see, I'm just placing all the elements on this canvas board so that to see where I could use the stencil and add in the textures. I'm just going to place a few things. This is just for my alignment at the moment. I'm not sticking anything because I need to know where the textures have to be added. So I take a card, this is corrugated cardboard sheet. You could also use a chipboard. So you get this chipboard of 1 mm or 2 mm thickness, or whatever packaging material that you get. You can just cut them into squares and fix them wherever you like. So I'll be adding these here. This mixed media doesn't have any particular method or anything to be followed. As long as you know the techniques, you can create any layout of your own. So as you can see, there are some empty spaces here. So here is where I'll be creating the textures with the help of stencil. And for that, I'll be using this mixed media paste. So this mixed media paste is a 2-in-1 gesso and modeling paste by Itsy Bitsy. But if you're a crafter, you can also use gesso. If you have camel gesso, artist camel gesso that you can use that as well. So I'll just keep all these elements aside. So as you can see, this lower part is where we need to apply the stencil. Before that, I will first adhere this piece of cheesecloth. So for this, I'll be using Mod Podge. So this is a decoupage glue, which is a little runny in consistency and not too thick. So this is the reason I prefer to use this. If you don't have a Mod Podge, you can very well use any decoupage glue from any other brand, or use Fevicol with a little bit of water. I would suggest most of these white glues work. A transparent glue, as long as it doesn't leave any mark, because there are some of these glues which leave a yellowish tinge. So we don't want that. So here, as you can see, I'm applying this randomly wherever this cheesecloth is going to come. Yes, so I have used this Mod Podge again on the cheesecloth so that it is adhered very well to the canvas. Because later on, once we apply the paints, I don't want this to come out. So while this dries, I am just going to randomly apply this. So like I said, this is a 2-in-1 paste, which has gesso and modeling paste in it. So it's called a mixed media paste. This comes in white and gray color at Itsy Bitsy. You can use even Montmartre modeling paste or Finnabair Prima modeling paste, or even thick gesso, or it is, I think, called as heavy gesso. So this should be like a paste, not in a running consistency. And for this, I'm using a palette knife so that a brush would not be recommended, and this helps in like easily applying it. So I'm just going to go and just spread it like how we just do a butter the bread or anything as such. So as you had seen, we had the dream catcher towards the top and the other elements. So this bottom part is where I'm going to apply these stencils. So in between here, I've given a little gap. I'll tell you the reason later. You need not be perfect and, you know, get the all the grooves you need not apply, just as much as you can, and once you're satisfied with the stenciling work, you can stop. So here is what you can see. I'm just clearing these edges. If you want, I mean, most of the stenciling work has come out neatly. So now I'm using this. This is a heat tool, which is just going to fasten the process, and we're not keeping it to dry for a long time. We had just placed these elements here. So I'm going to use Fevicol and adhere these. So right now we're like, all of us are ordering a lot online, and we're getting a lot of this packaging material which just sits, or else we just throw it away. So you can make use of that and put up those pieces. You don't have to actually buy a corrugated sheet of paper. Whatever you have at home, you can definitely make do with. Whatever element we are adding in the beginning, we just have to make sure that it is fixed properly to the base, that is the canvas here, because we don't want anything to pop up once we add the other black gesso and paints and extra textures. So moving on now, this is the fiber paste that I'll be using. This is also the same as mixed media paste, but this has fibers in it. These are coconut fibers. This is again from Itsy Bitsy's Little Birdie brand. The texture, the finish that we get with this, once we highlight using waxes and paints, is really amazing. So I'm just covering this up. Again, for this, you can use any texture medium that you already have. If you're good at some cone work or anything like that, you can add that those textures as well. This is just to cover up the canvas. So any medium or anything you want to add in, any texture, you can even put some base as Fevicol or something, and then you get this sand powder. So that can also be added to give textures. Ideally, I would suggest it, once you do this, just give it a bit of like maybe say about half an hour to 45 minutes of time once you finish all these steps, before proceeding it to the next step of adding colors and other things. So now once actually this now is where it takes a little time to dry this entire thing. So after this, again, I'll use the heat tool to dry up a little. Once this whole thing dries and when you feel it that, it should be completely dry, I would say, yeah, at least minimum half an hour to 45 minutes. If you have more time, the better. You leave it to dry completely. And once that is done, we'll be using this black gesso. So you can even use an acrylic paint, black acrylic paint for this step. But if you use a gesso, it's like a primer where it takes in other paints and everything easily. Your acrylic paint may blend in all the colors, but this black gesso will be like a primer. So it will take in. So now we have this cardboard in a different color. We have this cheesecloth in a different color. So this entire thing is going to be covered in black. And since the colors that I have chosen is this purple hue and turquoise and blue shades, I'm applying this black gesso. But if you want it to be a shabby shade, like, like a light yellow color or any pastel shade, then I would suggest you apply a white gesso. So the colors will be, if you're using brighter shades, you use black gesso. If you're using lighter pastel shades, you use a white gesso to cover this entire thing. So I'm just using a normal brush. And then this is the way I would be covering the entire canvas. I'm not going in these parts because it is still wet. You apply one coat, leave it to dry. If you are in a hurry, you can use a heat tool. Or else you leave it to dry, and in case later there will be chances that you will see some white spots. So in that case, you will have to apply a second coat. In case your gesso is a little too thick, you can add some water to it. I'll just show you what. So this is the canvas that I've prepped and kept. Yeah, so this is the thing that I'll be working on. So now I'll be placing back this to show you how, the whole thing is going to look. So we can place this here. I'm just going to cover not this, but all these elements in black as well. Textures is where the main important part is. Here I have this color, so a bit of teal and this metallic paint as well. You can use any acrylic paint for this or even a chalk paint. So you just need very little amount. So now what I'm going to use a dry brush, take in a bit of paint and tap it out. I'm not going to give like proper brush strokes, but these are dry brush strokes basically. So I start from one side and just go in. Whatever intensity of the color you want, you can add. Just keep in mind that you take a dry brush, take paint, tap out excess, and just go in like this. For this, what is going to happen is the black is going to remain as the base. So now what I'm going to do is, you get this something called as heavy gel medium. So using this, you can even use any glue which you can easily stick a metal piece. There's something called as E6000 or any other traditional glue, some RTV silicone glue you get. Any glue which holds metal pieces. So I'm just going to put this here. I'm going to put this dream catcher here with the help of Fevicol. So I'm just using a normal Fevicol to stick this chipboard. They are not very heavy, these chipboards, so they stick very well with Fevicol. You don't have to use any high-end glue or anything. And I don't actually prefer using glue gun because it's a little messy and it takes time. So basically for any chipboard and any light elements, you can use Fevicol easily to stick on these surfaces. Even though there is texture, it will stick around easily. So once you do this, it's advisable to just allow the whole glue to settle in and dry before we go on to the next step. Again, take this brush where I had this purple paint, and I'm just going to dry brush on these elements. Metal piece takes in nice textures and it will further be enhanced. Before that, I'm taking this metallic paint. I'm just taking a bit. You don't need this much. And you can use just the same brush. And don't worry, in case you have gone wrong anywhere and then you feel that you've added too much of green or too much of purple, something is not balanced, you can always go back to the previous color and then alter it. And after all, everything is handmade, so you don't have to be like so perfect. As you can see, these textures are highlighted now. I'm just adding a little blue. I'm going to use this metallic waxes. And you just take your fingers. You just randomly apply on all these textures. I have this chipboard, so instead of painting this, you can easily put this metallic wax, and that would highlight the whole thing. For you to either you can frame this canvas, or else I would suggest that you get this Aquadar PU varnish. So once you complete this whole canvas, allow it to dry for a day, and then you can apply that Aquadar PU varnish. I use that for my decoupage products and mixed media projects. So that actually is a clear varnish which dries clear and doesn't leave any yellow tinge or anything, unlike other varnishes. So you can apply that, and then this clear wax also doesn't come. This is actually a beeswax, and this again is from Itsy Bitsy store. And this whole thing, I think I've been using this since the last 1.5 years, and it's still there, like almost 3/4 of the box is still like as it is.
Canvas that I've created, and this was what we will be doing in the class as well. So here I have used different textures using stencil. Then here I have used some cardboard box, and then chipboard elements are added. This is a small jewelry finding. So on this, a layer of gesso is added, and then we add all the colors and various elements. So the theme of this project was dream. So you can see there's a dream catcher and there's live your dream. So I select a theme, and then work around whatever elements and everything that has to be added. And here's another small one, something similar, but the colors and the paints used here is different from the earlier one. And here again, I've used a bottle cap, as you can see, and then added a photo element, but I'm not added any color or texture to keep the photo element as same. And then I've just used some handmade flowers and chipboards. You can just come up with, if you have any old things lying at home like washers and any jewelry findings, you can use this as well. And whatever technique that I teach you in the class is not limited to just canvases. So here I have a MDF box that I've created. So as you can see, I've put a coat on top of it, but the same kind, whatever we have done on the canvas, the same technique and everything is done on this box. So this is like a utility item. So you can upcycle even this can be done on cardboard boxes as well. So the Amazon parcels or the shoe boxes that you get, so the same technique and everything can be combined, and just go to the same layers, and you can upcycle anything. So this is basically not just a mixed media canvas, but it's also like, upcycling. Since we've come to the end of the class, I would like to thank each of the participants for being here through the entire session. I hope I was able to convey all the techniques and be clear with all the art form as well. And thank you everyone for participating.